Ranger Ryan and Mossy Megan, that was something to watch, I have to say. And you know, the more that I think about it, I am quite inspired this morning as I think about Summer the scientist. You know, she did loan me her goggles. And because she loaned me her goggles, I'm feeling extra science-y today. So amuse me a little bit as we do an experiment together. I've been thinking about why is it that when we drop things that they fall down and not up? Let's do a little experiment to see. Let's say I have a flower. What a beautiful sunflower. Yep, didn't go up, it went down. What about also a beautiful yellow lemon? What if I drop it? Do you think it will float up? Nope. How about a pen? Nope. A coin, it's light, right? Maybe it'll start floating up. Nope. And lastly, this water bottle full of water, what will happen when I drop it? Do you think it will still go down? I guess I didn't fool anybody, did I? Well, you see, there's a force at work here, and I'm sure some of you fellow scientists out there know what it is, and that force is called gravity. And gravity is the attractional force that pulls an object down to the earth. And that's why all of those objects fell. Now, you may be saying, why are we talking about gravity? Well, I bring it up because we're talking about the Bible story of when Jesus walked on the water. Now, when have you ever seen anyone in your life walk on a pool, on the surface of water? That's crazy, right? Well, we're talking about Jesus, who has miracle power. He has the power to overcome any laws of nature, including walking on water. Let's learn more together. So in our story today, we're picking up where we left off last time. Do you remember what happened? Jesus had just fed the big crowd of people with just a few loaves of bread and a few fish. And after that happened, almost immediately, Jesus knew that he needed some alone time with his Father. So he went off to the mountainside to pray, and he sent his group of followers, called his disciples, to the boat and sent them across the sea. Okay, so here's our story. It's becoming dark, and the disciples are getting into the boat and they're sailing across the sea in the middle of the night. Have you ever been on a boat in the nighttime? It's a little scary, isn't it? Well, all of a sudden, a wicked storm cropped up and clouds started filling the sky and rain started pouring down. Rain started pouring down, the wind started to kick up, and all of a sudden, there were waves splashing into the boat. And for hours and hours in the middle of the night, they struggled and strained to keep that boat afloat. And they were sailing across the way. And just when they were about to get super discouraged, they saw something in the distance. Something that looked like a ghostly figure. Wow, do you think it was a ghost? And so they started talking among themselves and saying, who is that? What is that? They couldn't tell. But it reminds me of something. Have you ever woken up in the middle of the night? I've done it before in my room, and I think I see something walking around, or I think I see a shadow cast on the wall. It's really nothing, it's just our minds playing tricks, but I imagine that's how the disciples must have felt on the boat. Well, anyway, they noticed that this ghostly figure isn't going away, it's coming nearer to their boat. Wow, what's gonna happen? Well, right when they were about to scream in terror, this figure spoke to them. And I want to read straight from the Bible what he said. Don't be afraid. Take courage. I am here. Okay, now they know who it is. This isn't some random ghost on the water. This is Jesus. Oh my goodness. So this means that they were traveling in the boat in the storm, and Jesus was walking on the water in the middle of the night. What? That is something else. Jesus was just taking a midnight stroll on the water, and he saw his disciples struggling in the boat. So Jesus said, take courage, I am here. He tried to encourage his disciples and strengthen them because he could see that they were super scared. Now, the story only gets more wild. Are you ready for this? Peter, one of the main followers of Jesus, sees Jesus out on the water, and he says, Lord, if it is really you, tell me to come out on the water with you. Now, that was quite the test, right? Because Peter's not God, Peter's just a man, but he says, call me out there, Lord. I want to go out there with you. Well, what do you think is going to happen? I'm going to turn to another part of the scriptures. I'm going to turn to the book of Matthew, chapter 14, and let's see what he says. In verse 28 of chapter 14, it says, then Peter called to him, Lord, if it's really you, tell me to come to you walking on the water. Yes, come, Jesus said. So Peter went over the side of the boat and walked on the water towards Jesus. But when he saw the strong wind and the waves, he was terrified and began to sink. Save me, Lord, he shouted. And Jesus immediately reached out and grabbed him. Oh, wow. Let's recap what just happened. So Peter said, hey, Jesus, take me out on the water. I'd like to try to walk on the water with you. And Jesus said, come on, Peter. And Peter went over the side of the boat. Think of it, in the middle of the night with the raging wind and waves, he stepped out of the boat, stepped onto the water, and he walked. He walked on the water. He was staring Jesus right in the face, and Jesus was saying, come on, Peter, walk. And then all of a sudden, Peter noticed all the wind and the waves, and he started getting scared. And as soon as he looked away from Jesus, he started sinking. And Jesus, I love this. This is my favorite part. Notice what Jesus didn't do. Jesus didn't say, Peter, you looked away from me, I'm just going to let you sink. No. He grabbed him immediately. He reached out his hand and he pulled him up. Jesus' power holds us up. When Peter got scared because everything around him, Jesus reached in and he held him up with his power. And Jesus does the same thing in our lives. Jesus' power holds us up. So what happened after Peter tried to walk on the water? He started sinking, and then Jesus immediately reached out his hand and grabbed him. What happened? What happened with the storm? Well, let's continue reading in Matthew chapter 14, verse 32. It says, when they climbed back into the boat, the wind stopped. Then the disciples worshiped him. You really are the Son of God, they exclaimed. This sounds mighty similar to a couple of weeks ago, right? When Jesus calmed the storm. The same thing happened. With Jesus' presence in the boat, the storm stopped. That is so cool. And that reminds us of the lesson that his followers learned and the lesson we can learn as well, that Jesus' power is strong and Jesus' power holds us up. And remember how I said that Jesus was so mighty and so powerful, and yet he was so kind to reach out and grab Peter. Well, this teaches us that Jesus is both powerful and kind. How good a God we have that's both powerful and kind. So this week, that's what I want you to be reminded of. Remember this story. If life is crazy around you, I know many of you have started a new school year and it's more different than anything that you've ever experienced before. Maybe you're a little bit on the computer, a little bit in the classroom, and maybe you feel a little bit like Peter, like you're sinking. There's so many things changing and you can't seem to keep up. I want you to remember this week and everything that's going on in your life that Jesus' power holds you up. Love you, Scottsdale kids. Talk to you soon.
No, be real strong. No, real strong, like the Hulk. Don't make a chipmunk face. There it is.
All right, here we go.